Now it counts. Wait, is the name updated? Oh my god. Whatever. So I'll leave this for the YouTubes then. Welcome to another episode of 2 of Casual Conversations with me, Carlz. The only show where I take whatever I say in Spanish and I try to rethink it and sort of reinterpret it in English. Yeah, basically, I was resisting doing episode 2 because I had a little bit of trouble sort of translating whatever I was thinking about this following movie that I'm looking to talk about today, which is a funny little movie called Witch. Now, for anyone who hasn't seen Witch, this is basically the latest animated movie by Disney Animation Studios, right? And I don't know what to say about it. I've been obsessed with this movie in the corner of my mind for a long time, basically. Since I saw it, I've been meaning to sort of not develop it, but like digest it in my brain. And I'm a little bit ashamed to say that it has taken way too much space on my brain since I saw it. So when I did my Spanish episode, the thing it got most of my focus on the movie. Of course, it was led by ideas, as I usually do, but I'm trying to compress them in the English version. So the idea or the strings of idea that came to me during my Spanish episode, which was the development of ideas that I've been having for a long time, was basically starting with the inception of potential, right? So why would this movie about a guy who grants wishes meant so much for me in a sense? So this idea of potential comes from Disney's own sort of publicity campaign, can you say? Yeah, you can call it that, right? So which was supposed to be the 100th anniversary of Disney Animation Studios, right? And they did a huge amount of advertisement in that regard about it being the celebration of whatever legacy they think or they believe or they want to portray as Disney's legacy. So I remember looking at these campaigns, the trailers and everything, and thinking, wow, that's a really interesting concept, right? The 100th anniversary of the company. And immediately it takes you back to all the times you've watched Disney movies, all the things that have stayed with you over the years, right? Like if anyone that is listening is like me, Disney has been an important part of your childhood, teenage years, and even adulthood from then on, right? So when I thought about the idea of them celebrating their 100th anniversary with a movie, I thought, wow, this is going to be important, isn't it? Like, are we going to try to make a stand? Are we gonna try to, I don't know, leave our mark, remember who we are, or like, I don't know. I had so many ideas, and I had most of it expectations, right? I had own private ideas of what I wanted the movie to be, and sad to say, like by now, in hindsight, now that the movie has come out for a while, and critics did their thing, box office did their thing, right? Now it will be forever remembered as a bomb, as a bad movie, right? That is going to be remembered as a bad movie. But anyways, so what did Wish end up being about, right? In this magical kingdom, there is a king, lol, right, who grants wishes to his subjects, citizens, It's not really well explained in the movie, right? To slaves, perhaps. Who knows, right? So he has this mechanism where like everybody wishes something, and he's had like this big machine where he deals with the wishes as he pleases, right? It's gonna be like, uh, okay, you get a wish, and like you know, and you don't, and you get a wish. So life goes on in this kingdom as they usually do in fairy tale stories, uh, with no problem at all, right? Everybody gets their wish once in a while. Nothing's wrong. Yeah, if you get blessed by the wish, oh well, you got a wish. Congratulations, right? And if you don't, okay, next time might be yours. But there's this girl called Asha, right? She's like a humble girl, whatever, like, don't know who I really am. And her grandfather, I believe it was her grandfather, he's like, I think dying from like pneumonia or whatever, right? And it's come his time to be eligible, I think, for being in the wish, like, how you call it, like giveaway. I don't know how you call it, but like she thought her grandparent her grandfather's wish would be granted, right? Because he's a great person, because he lived his way as he's supposed to do, etc., etc. And turns out Asha's grandfather's wish is not granted, right? Which immediately triggers in her the idea, whoa, there's something wrong in the system. How come my grandpa's wish didn't get granted? So that's the beginning of the movie, and as they usually do in these conversations, it's completely spoiler filled. So I'm gonna talk whatever I think about the movie. And with that beginning, like immediately I think about, wow, they're gonna talk about the main mechanic that has guided every Disney movie since forever, right? When you wish upon a star and your wish gets fulfilled by some magic. And I kept thinking like, so okay, how are they gonna do it? How can you make a cartoon version of being granted a wish, right? So I think about the elements implicit in that process, which is the wisher, right? The wish and the person who grants the wishes. And of course, the wisher and the wish are sort of generic. Like we assume that the grandpa was fine and whatever, right? That his life was okay. But here's when I got into an issue. As the movie progresses, we're introduced to Magnifico, which is the king of the kingdom. As I said, the one who grants the wishes, right? And you immediately go into like the Disney suspicious mode, and you go like, okay, how are they gonna make this guy bad, right? What are his going to be like his uh secret, I don't know, plans, his machinations to be evil, to dominate the world or whatever, right? What is what is going to make this guy bad if all he do is grant wishes, right? And then you go like, okay, he's supposed to have a purpose to be bad. So when he denies Asha's grandfather's wish, you are expecting from second one for the movie to give you some sort of justification to his logic, right? And here where the movie gets weak. There's not really at any point of the movie there is a clear argument or justification for how Magnifico does whatever it is he does, right? On my Spanish version, I got into this idea that somehow there is a background for Magnifico which is deeper than whatever you see in the movie. And as you go back to the movie, that idea doesn't get weaker; it gets stronger and stronger, right? So you keep thinking about there's an not only the Magnifico song and not only a scene where they show sort of like flashbacks of his childhood and his I think his home or the original kingdom that was destroyed by a dragon or whatever, right? Typical monster Deus ex machina thing, which sort of traumatized him, right? And so there is a dynamic between the wish granting he's choosing and whatever it means for him to keep the wishes not fulfilled, right? The movie somehow tells you that Magnifico is traumatized. It is traumatized person who is sort of like defending the wishes or like protecting their power or something. But whatever is the case, as the movie progresses, you realize that Magnifico's role, not only in the movie itself, but in the argument of the movie, is way bigger than any Disney villain could have ever had, right? Because basically what he's doing, if we follow the logic of Witches being the 100th celebration movie or whatever, right? And the idea that kept coming during my Spanish version also was that Magnifico is basically an incarnation or reincarnation or like personification of Disney itself, right? And I'm gonna be super obsessed with Magnifico because I think he is the protagonist of the movie, right? He is the personification of Disney, the personification of the thought process via which the company usually writes all of their ideas, right? You have a bad guy, you have a good guy, you have or a good person and a bad person, and that good person wishes something to the stars, want to be a kid, can't wait to be king, whatever you want to call it, right? The good guys wish something, and throughout a movie which portrays be their personality, be their like I don't know, strength of character or whatever, they reach this wish, right? So you never actually wonder if what if this was magic, right? What if in I don't know the Little Mermaid, Ariel didn't sort of fulfill her role by making an effort, right, to learning to communicate and like learning to appreciate whatever she is, right? What if the thing just got made? What if she wishes and it just got made, right? If there is like an amount of superpower or like godhood power like that, wouldn't that person or whoever force that can actually grant those wishes have a purpose or like have something to say? And that is sort of like the idea that to me is hard to put in words. Like I want Magnifico to be Disney, and I want Disney to tell me why they do what they do. I kept going back to Hunchback of Notre Dame, because as a kid, I could never understand why Quasimodo didn't get the girl. It's probably something that it's been talked a lot, but to me as a kid, as a kid that felt sort of uh, not misplaced, but as a kid that felt that wasn't really fitting anywhere, right? I always thought that he was a good guy and like his wish is going to be fulfilled, and even if I want to reduce Quasimodo's wish to just be accepted, right? It didn't have to be with what's her name, Esmeralda, right? It didn't have to be with Esmeralda. It didn't have to be, but in your mind, part of you thought it would, right? It was always the main guy would get with the main girl. So I never understood why there was this other blonde douche who get the girl. And what's the point of talking about all of this? That as I grew up, I sort of understand it, but I'm still craving for a further explanation. So when I saw Wish and I thought about the idea of Disney giving me an explanation through the image of a character that would represent what or why do I think somebody deserves their wish to be granted, right? I thought it would be uh, like a revelation type of thing. It would be um, okay. This is what we think as a company that is worth. These are our values, right? This is how we choose for our wishes to be granted, and this is partially my fault, right? To expect something like this from a movie like this, but you can't really blame me. And this is where like the idea of expectations and potential clashes when I think about Wish. They were the ones that created the publicity campaign, right? About the 100th year, about everything. They were the one misleading us to think that this movie was going to be important, but not only important because it's like something that happened in the 100th years of Disney. I thought it was going to be important for the thing it says rather for the things it wanted to or the things it told us it was going to be. And it's sad because somehow I feel that I you can't blame me for having such high expectations. I feel that you can't blame me for demanding. No, demanding sounds kind of harsh, right? But you can't blame me for wanting the movie to give me an answer that I've been waiting for like 20 years, right? But in the end, the movie sort of plays with several ideas in such a shallow way that it becomes highly frustrating. So if we leave a little bit, we leave Magnifico on the side for a bit, right? Okay, whatever. Yeah, he wasn't justified as a bad guy, or he didn't give us a true comprehensible reason to why he chooses one witches over the other. Okay, whatever. But then we think about the other characters. We think about Asha. We think about the kingdom. And as I watched the movie and I thought about those characters, how normal they are, right? They are not like I mean, Asha is sort of like not a genius, but like she's sufficiently able to do whatever that she's gonna do, right? But they introduce this idea of it's gonna sound really stupid, but they introduce this idea of revolution, right? So Asha's motivations are not magic or like I don't wanna kiss the prince. Like her motivations are like justice. Like, dude, this system is wrong. My grandpa should have had his wish granted. What is wrong with this system? Why is there only one guy that decides this, right? Why? What makes him the leader? What grants him the capacity of taking these decisions without facing the people? And like again, this might sound stupid and it might be me projecting, but you can't blame me. You can blame me to see this sort of um, rebellious youth in Asha and her friends, right? They band together to fight whatever injustice they think exists in the system. like like by now people might have already realized that my problem with this movie is the clash between what I wanted it to be and what it actually is. But again, I insist, it's not my fault. It's their fault. It's their fault. Like how if Magnifico would have gone like a traditional bad guy way, right? Like if even his song is sort of like a mild manner, like yeah, Magnifico, blah blah blah. If he had had a song, again, I'm going back to Hunchback a lot. If his song would have been like Hellfire, right? I would have understand him better. Like Hellfire is super good in a sense that for Hunchback, the bad guy is talking about subjects that go really far beyond what like just a kids movie is, right? There is like there's like sexual perversion. There's like this whole idea of sin and everything. It's a really rough thing to witness. Like if you see that when you were a kid, you just say, "Oh, this is the bad guy song." But when you see that as an adult or as a teen, you can see his struggles, right? And these are really complex adult struggles of like a pious man that is supposed to be this like spiritual leader being haunted by his human like desires, right? It's well, it's a great movie. It's probably one of the best villain songs Disney has. And if we go from that to Magnifico has even a greater responsibility and a bigger power, right? Yet his character is not even a half as deep as the Hunchback's bad guy. I don't remember his name, like the Pope or something, right? He has even a bigger responsibility to that story arc and to that movie's plot. But it's so shallow and poorly done that by the end of the movie, Magnifico is only the bad guy because sort of the movie forced you to think he's the bad guy, right? Not him, not Asha, not almost any character on that movie had had any sort of like texture to them, layers, right? Since we're in a Hunchback mood, we go back to Hunchback, right? Like Quasimodo, like he wanted to be good, but like he was brought up right like by this bad guy, so he had like different ideas of morality in his head. So he really struggled at the moment where he tried to, I don't know, balance what he desires, what he wanted to do on whatever, right? It's rough, but like it seems like no character in Wish ever amounts to anything like that. It seems like we are forced to assume, unassumingly, that these characters are just functions, tools, but they're talking about bigger subjects. And I think that is the main thing that made the movie stay with me, was that sensation of frustration, right? Because it's not like Disney cannot do more challenging stuff, or like I have been talking about Hunchback a lot, right? Or like even in I don't know, Moana or like those sort of things. So Disney get bashed, and sometimes with a lot of justification about um like I don't want to use those terms, but they come up a lot, um with like being woke and like, or like being manipulative, right? Let's manipulate the narrative so people would get interested in whatever we're saying by, I don't know, let's represent minorities or whatever. They bash a lot about that, and I think that is partially like unjustified, because any sort of representation it often does more good than bad. But then you get these experiments like Wish, where they are the ones whose responsibility is to give us the texture, the layered texture to characters and ideas. It's not ours, like I'm doing right now, right? It's not, well, it's not my job because I don't get paid, but it's not supposed to be my job to think, oh, what would Magnifico's motives be when he chooses who's gonna get their wishes granted, right? Like, why should I think about it? They are the ones making the movie, and they're the ones making the ideas, right? So, mm, I, I, I don't understand why this movie is so shallow. I think that's, that's my main problem. I don't understand why it's so irrelevant. I don't understand why it's so blur. I don't understand why couldn't Magnifico have been a character who somehow defended 100-year-old companies' um, values and morals, right? Because Magnifico is Disney. That is my working assumption. Magnifico is Disney. There's no way Asha is Disney because Asha has no power. Like Disney is not the company of the downtrodden or like the weak. Disney is not that. Disney is the powerful, right? The big company, the enablers. Disney is the big power that tell us, the powerless, if you do this, you can achieve that. But sadly, as we come to, not sadly, just true to our times, we can't take these things in face value anymore. Like we can't. We can't. Like we are, not only because we are not kids anymore, and not only because we live in a broader world, right? We can accept these things face value because whatever they are talking about are things that are happening in the real world, that if you are a company with such um, like you say, presence, right, you have a huge responsibility. If you have this amount of power and presence, you have a certain responsibility. And as you become an adult, you can't just go Hakuna Matata everything, even though that was like the the working values of my childhood, like Hakuna Matata and the Jungle Book. What was the name of the song? Like whatever, like right, bare necessities. We can't take that anymore. Like you have to give us an explanation. It's gonna sound like really like childish, but you owe us an explanation. Disney. Like you owe us an explanation for years of, I don't know, supporting, consuming whatever you are trying to tell us, right? So if I teleport towards the end of the movie, like when Asha and her friends they go like, we're going to do a revolution, right? We're gonna do a revolt. Like this cannot stand, man. Like like in The Big Lebowski, right? This cannot stand. This aggression will not stand. And they do this sort of rebellion, right? And we're gonna free everybody's wishes. Like how does that act mean anything in a world with no justification? Like if I don't understand why he kept their wishes, what's the point of having them granted? Like this is no like communist kingdom or whatever, right? Like okay, everybody gets their wish granted. Wee Like that can't happen that way. It just can't. There needs to be a justification, and there's just no justification whatsoever. And besides thinking about which is a just mediocre movie, it's a movie that you gradually began to resent. In my case, like you get into all of these sort of questions, right? Like if this system was crooked, if the system was bad, if the system was corrupt, how come nobody asked any questions up until Asha asked her question? Like how? Isn't that like a sort of like a societal assumption of like, okay, let's trust our leaders, or like let's trust the system? Isn't that sort of like the same? So any one of these characters could have done whatever Asha did. Like and I'm not saying that Disney characters need necessarily to be special or unique, but like when they get this moment, right, this inspiring moment, like in Moana, right? When you go, okay, I'm gonna go exploring. When you get into that moment, you have to choose a situation that is unique to you, right? Every Disney hero is faced with a situation that is unique to them, right? There's only one wooden kid in Pinocchio, right? There's only one that's going to be king in The Lion King. There's only one Hunchback of Notre Dame. There's only one Aladdin, right? So it's important to us as spectator to feel like the protagonist, the main guy, whatever their motivations is, or whatever they choose to do when they eventually face the powers that be, right? It's important to us to feel some sort of empathy with it. But to be empathy or to be empathetic with the protagonist, we need to feel this. It's not, hate is too strong, right? We need to feel this frustration, this opposing energy from the bad guy. And that is something that I never felt for Magnifico, for the reasons that I've been talking about all this time. I've never felt that he was a bad guy. I never did. I was waiting the whole movie for him to give me some sort of like tragic, dramatic reason for me to feel like, oh man, like this guy is going through stuff. That's why he does the decisions that, or that's why he takes the decisions that he takes. And it doesn't have to be that way. But I couldn't just go like, okay, like every bad guy, like Scar is bad, right? He wants to kill his brother, or like Gaston is bad, like he only wants to get it on with Belle. Like these bad guys, they're really bad guys. There's no, even if you get some positive ideas out of them, they're bad guys. They're never gonna be good guys. No Disney villain has a good side. But Magnifico doesn't have neither a good side nor a bad side. It's an incomplete character. That's just what he is. It's an incomplete character. I keep wanting him to be something because I thought this movie was going to be giving me the answers that I waited for 20 years. That's basically it. Like, and if he was so bad, right? If the system was crooked and like he has no motivation, why? How come they threw him down? I remember by the end of the movie where they go, they say something like, "Oh no, like he says something like you're better with me, or like you are better following my lead. Like I know what I'm doing, right?" But they never develop whatever idea is going through his head. So at the end, when they rebel against him, all I could think about was like, okay, this is like overthrowing a dictator, right? That's how dictators work. Like I'm gonna take this country over by force, right? And I'm just gonna impose my will, and you just have to assume that I have your best interest aligned with mine. You just have to assume that. That's how dictatorship work, right? I don't have to justify myself to you. But what often happens to dictators when they come crashing down? What, they fucking shoot them, right? You kill them. You kill opposing unjustifiable forces, or like oppressing forces of any kind. You destroy them. So by the end of the movie, I thought like, okay, wouldn't wouldn't it be cool if they hang him from the public square? Where I thought about that for a bit. Like, wouldn't it be cool if they hung Magnifico up on the square, and like people somehow force their like unhappiness into him in the most violent way? Because if he's not a character, and if he's not relatable, and we don't have any empathy for him as a person, well, might as well see him like being hung on the public square. Like he's no one. He's this all powerful no one. So when the movie ends, what do you get but frustration? Like I really wanted it. I really wanted it to be something. And I think that that dynamic, that as I said, it might be completely my fault. It's something that it's totally fair to either expect and or demand of these sort of things, right? Like, and I know this need for kids or whatever, right? But like, you can't fault me. You can fault me because I grew up with this stuff. I guess I sort of expected it to sort of be an expansion or like an explanation, like in a teaching way of all of these values you learn as a kid, right? Throughout our movies. This is why. This is why we did it. Even if it wasn't, even if it missed the opportunity to be like that, it could have been an opportunity for something else. Because nowadays we get like animated or like quote unquote kid movies, which so much uh, layers and subtext, right? One of my favorite animated movies of like the past year, Inside Out 2, right? Like you can show characters that have a lot of meaning, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you write a complicated explanation in the script or not. Like when Joy breaks down. This is spoiler for Inside Out 2, by the way. When Joy breaks down on top of Riley's like was it like insecurities, and like she realizes that joy is not something that you can just have, right? Like she realizes that for every human being, striving for joy is something, and having the desire and the representation of joy in your psyche is important, but it can be an innocent joy. Like when she realizes that she just can't be happy all the time because joy doesn't work like that in the real world. And if you want to be a functioning adult or like a real person, you can't depend on like just joy, like something that exists. When she realizes that and she breaks down, you sort of witness what it means to create a character with character, right? Oops, but you realize that it's possible. Not only that it's possible, that it can be well done. I wanted something like that for Magnifico. I wanted something like that, something that went over and beyond just bad guy versus good guy. I wanted something that went beyond another Disney movie. And by now, it's clear that I dislike the movie more for me than for the movie itself. But as I've said a million times, I guess I like Disney that much, and I would probably keep liking it, even though if they do crap or like they never take their time to to do a real commentary on something, or they might just waste their time and money doing more stupid Marvel movies, whatever you want to say, right? Whichever the case, as an adult that grew up watching Disney movies, this is the state of mind that I think you must have. When they say you should be critical of the media that you like, I think this is what it means. It means not taking whatever garbage they give you and just accept, or like end up uh, sort of completing the process they should have done by yourself, right? Because if you strip down Wish from all of these components and you go like, oh yeah, yeah, he's very important. It is a very important movie because he was the one that granted wishes, right? And it's really important for you to behave in a certain way to get your wishes fulfilled. And like he didn't, and she didn't, you can't. You see, because as soon as you try to strip down whatever elements of wish you think that are superfluous, none of them are, because the matter of the movie itself is not shallow. An all powerful person, not even a god or anything, right? That grants wishes, that determines who's deserving of happiness and who's not. And you get like an opposing force of not nature, of world society. You get a representation of frustrated society against an unjust system. This is not just like a fancy way of naming the components of the movie. It's just what the movie is. And shit, how could it be anything less? You just can't. But I think I'm just gonna leave it there because I can keep going on and going back and forth between my expectation and what the movie is not. And like it's unfair, not to the movie, but it's unfair like even to me to keep losing my, not my time. I like talking about these things. Not my time, but my attention and like my emotions in a way, to expect this magic company to be anything else that what it really is, just a machine of creating products that, for like the luck of whatever source material they had, or like by the magic of the process, however you want to call it, even by just a stroke of dumb luck, for whatever circumstances it is, it has created magic for 100 years. And it will keep creating, maybe not magic, maybe just stuff, or a million Disney movies. And it's gonna like determine the future of generations to come. And I'm thinking that in the 200th anniversary of Disney, when they release Wish 2, I doubt, like I highly doubt, completely doubt, that they will do anything better than what they did with Wish 1. Because as they are a machine of producing money grabbing product, they will never, ever be as committed to a purpose and a value as to make a movie where they will go, this is us, this is Disney, and like this is the process by which we have the um, influenced the lives of thousands or millions of people. They're never gonna do it. They're never gonna do it. They are always gonna take a step back when they get too close to say something relevant. It's always our responsibility. It's our responsibility to see the layers in hellfire, right? It's our responsibility to see the sadness in the Lion King. It's our responsibility to I don't know, to see ourselves in the representation of Pocahontas, or like it's our responsibility. It's always our responsibility. It's never gonna be theirs. And like this movie made me realize that. This movie made me realize that it's never gonna be their responsibility. They're never gonna take it, and they're always gonna fumble the ball in that case. So at best, it was an exercise in getting some degree of consciousness about Disney. Uh, I guess I don't wanna ever hate the company, and I guess that's why it's so hard sometimes. but at the same time, it's something that you just gotta do. You just can't keep taking whatever they give you, incomplete and like shallow and like I don't know, dumb even. You just can't. But hey, the movie's not that bad. No, it is. It is. It's bad. It's boring. It's shallow. Like the songs are meh. Whatever you wanna call it. Here's to 100 more years of Disney, and to another episode of my corner of conversations or whatever. I have to think a lot for next episode because I did a lot of thinking in the Spanish version. I don't know how I want to tackle it, but I want to try to summarize it because I have to talk about David Lynch. And that's always an experience. And I don't want to be Magnifico, just spouting nonsense, even though I'm always borderline into it. I just don't want to be Magnifico spouting nonsense. I want to at least try to make sense, which is way more than Disney could say, like, for the last, 20 years or something. That's just how it goes, right? Get your wishes granted, wish upon a star, and you will never know if your wishes will be granted because nobody has explained how that works, right? Nobody did and nobody will. Thank you for listening. See you next time.